The Grand Cathedral in New York City gleamed under the April sun, decorated with white lilies and hand-embroidered tapestries. Everything was ready for the most anticipated ceremony of the year. Blake Harrison, heir to one of the largest tech empires in America, was known for his brilliant mind, colossal fortune, and mysterious isolation since the private jet accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down. At 38, more than a wife, he was hoping for a new beginning. The bride, Victoria Winters, an internationally renowned supermodel, represented the ideal of modern beauty, elegance, and status. The string quartet began to play, but before Victoria made her entrance, an assistant approached Blake with an envelope. The note, handwritten on expensive stationery, read, "I cannot marry a man I love less than his money." The silence that followed was absolute. Blake closed his eyes with serenity, then opened them, and with an icy voice announced that the ceremony was cancelled. He withdrew under the incredulous gaze of senators, CEOs, celebrities, and millions of viewers watching the live stream. Days later, when the scandal still dominated headlines, he surprised the entire world by announcing his engagement to a young employee who had been quietly cleaning the corridors of his Manhattan penthouse. Olivia Bennett, a refugee from a war-torn country, had escaped conflict and was rebuilding her life with quiet dignity. Her presence went unnoticed, but her spirit was unbreakable. She accepted the proposal, but with one condition: part of the marriage contract would be allocated to build a children's rehabilitation center in her hometown. The union was celebrated, privately, without cameras, with only a few witnesses. Within days, she went from wearing a work uniform to haute couture, but without losing her essence. Inside the mansion, faces were a mixture of rejection, suspicion, and curiosity. Blake's mother, Eleanor Harrison, made no effort to hide her disapproval. His brother Ryan suspected Olivia's intentions. The press nicknamed her disparagingly, insinuating opportunism. Olivia didn't respond. She knew she didn't belong in this world, but she also knew she had nothing to hide. At nights, Blake would play the piano on the terrace under the stars. One evening, she approached with a traditional string instrument from her homeland and accompanied him. It was the first moment he looked at her with genuine attention. Music became their shared language, and without words, an unexpected complicity was born. Weeks later, Victoria reappeared in the media claiming to be pregnant. She insinuated that Blake was still secretly contacting her. The statements caused an uproar, but Blake responded firmly, suggesting he had recordings that proved otherwise. Although he managed to contain the scandal, internal tension increased. 2. Regain control of the public narrative. A PR advisor suggested that they announce a fake pregnancy. Olivia flatly refused. However, during a charity gala, Victoria publicly humiliated her. In response, Blake declared before everyone that they were expecting a child. Olivia looked at him with anger, feeling betrayed. That same night, she confronted him. Blake, for the first time, lowered his guard. It wasn't a strategy. It was an impulsive act to protect us. But the damage was already done. Olivia decided to leave. She packed her things, ready to abandon the penthouse. She was stopped by Mrs. Sullivan, the elderly housekeeper, who had seen many falls and rises in that house. "You've changed everything in here, don't give up now." With doubts, Olivia decided to stay. Over time, she began to pursue distance learning studies in community development with financial support from the Harrison Family Foundation. She proposed innovative reforms, created inclusion programs, and designed new strategies to serve marginalized communities. Her presence no longer went unnoticed. Blake's mother, previously hostile, began to observe her with respect. As a sign of recognition, she gave Olivia a family brooch in the shape of a golden eagle, symbol of the Harrison lineage. "You fly higher than many of us expected." Meanwhile, Blake faced his own challenges. He began experimental therapy with an exoskeleton developed by his company. The sessions were painful. During a night of desperation, Olivia surprised him by playing a melody from his childhood on the piano. Blake couldn't hold back his tears. He wasn't crying for his legs that couldn't move, but for his heart that was finally feeling something true. The calm was interrupted by a new character, Aaron Blackwood, a business rival and Victoria's former lover. This man approached Olivia with a shady proposal, sabotaged the foundation's plans in exchange for directing her own organization with power and prestige. She rejected the offer, but concealed the meeting. When Blake discovered it, he felt hurt not by betrayal but by omission. They argued intensely. Olivia decided to distance herself. That evening, she stood at the window watching the Manhattan skyline glow in the distance. Tomorrow, she would have to make a decision that would change everything. The sound of Blake's wheelchair approaching from behind made her heart race, but she wasn't ready to face him yet. Not when she knew what she had to do next. Olivia returned to her homeland, seeking refuge with her family in a small community outside of Boston. She resumed her academic life, focusing on international development studies at a local university. The press speculated about the definitive separation, with tabloids creating elaborate theories about the failed marriage. Victoria wasted no time capitalizing on the situation, giving exclusive interviews painting herself as the wronged woman who had seen through Olivia's scheme. Back in New York, Blake immersed himself in work, pushing the exoskeleton technology further. His executive team noticed a new intensity in his decision-making, less calculated, more determined. The Harrison Technologies stock soared as news of breakthrough mobility innovations leaked to the press. What the public didn't see were the grueling physical therapy sessions that left him exhausted, or the nights he spent staring at the instrument Olivia had left behind. 3 months passed. During an international conference organized by the United Nations, Olivia appeared on stage as the official representative of a grassroots organization working with refugee children. Her speech was direct and moving. It doesn't matter where we come from. What matters is what we do with the place where we've been placed. As she concluded, she saw him waiting outside the venue. Blake simply asked, "Are you coming home?" She responded, "If it's truly a home, yes." The reunion was tentative, filled with unspoken emotions. Upon returning to the penthouse, Blake led her to a private rooftop garden where he had planted hundreds of white lilies like those that decorated that interrupted wedding. Standing with the help of the exoskeleton, he handed her an antique ring. This time, there's no contract, just truth. Their vow renewal ceremony was held among ancient ruins in the Arizona desert, under the starry sky. Only the closest family members were present. Blake, with specially designed canes, stood to receive her. "I wanted to welcome you standing, literally and symbolically." During their vows, Olivia confessed she had lost her brother in the war. That's why she had learned not to trust anyone. Blake responded, "You taught me that I don't have to be whole to be worthy of love." 6 months later, the Harrison Foundation had expanded its operations to 5 countries, with Olivia directing the International Programs Division. Eleanor had become her unexpected ally, offering connections and insights from decades of philanthropy work. The relationship between the women grew stronger as they discovered shared values beneath their different backgrounds. One afternoon, as Olivia was reviewing proposals in her office, Victoria made an unannounced appearance. The supermodel looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes poorly concealed by expensive makeup. "I need your help," Victoria said without preamble. "Aaron Blackwood is threatening to release information that could destroy both me and Blake." Olivia studied the woman who had once tried to humiliate her. "What kind of information?" "Financial records, altered ones." Victoria's hands trembled slightly as she placed a flash drive on the desk. "Aaron and we were more than lovers. We were partners in certain ventures that weren't entirely legal. When Blake and I were engaged, Aaron convinced me to get access to Harrison Technologies' financial system. He planted false evidence of money laundering." "Why are you coming to me instead of Blake?" Olivia asked, not touching the drive. "Because Blake would never believe me, and because I know you understand what it means to rebuild yourself from nothing." Victoria's composure cracked. "I'm not the person I was. I'm trying to change, but Aaron won't let me go." Later that evening, Olivia debated whether to tell Blake about Victoria's visit. Trust had been hard-won between them, and she didn't want secrets. But bringing Victoria back into their lives felt dangerous. Before she could decide, Blake's brother Ryan arrived unexpectedly for dinner. Ryan had always been the charming, carefree contrast to Blake's serious demeanor. As CFO of Harrison Technologies, he managed the financial empire while Blake focused on innovation. During dinner, Ryan casually mentioned meeting with Aaron Blackwood. "You what?" Blake put down his fork, tension immediate in his shoulders. "Relax, brother. It was just a preliminary discussion about a potential merger. Blackwood Industries has some interesting patents we could use. Blackwood is not to be trusted," Blake stated firmly. Ryan laughed. "You've always been too rigid about these things. Business is business. Personal feelings shouldn't interfere." Olivia observed the exchange quietly, pieces falling into place. After Ryan left, she shared Victoria's visit and the flash drive with Blake. "This could be a trap," Blake warned, examining the drive without connecting it to any computer. "Or it could be the truth," Olivia countered. Victoria seemed genuinely afraid. Blake's face hardened. "I'll have our security team analyze it safely, but why would Ryan be meeting with Blackwood now? The timing is too convenient." The next day, Blake called an emergency board meeting, excluding Ryan. The contents of the drive had been verified, falsified records that made it appear as if Harrison Technologies had been involved in financial misconduct for years. More disturbing was evidence suggesting Ryan might have been aware of the scheme. "We need to confront him," Eleanor insisted, her voice tight with concern. "There must be an explanation." When confronted, Ryan initially denied everything, then shifted to justifications. "Blake gets all the glory while I do the dirty work of keeping this company profitable. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? Always the other Harrison's son?" The family conflict erupted into a public scandal when Ryan resigned publicly, making vague accusations about Blake's leadership. Wall Street reacted immediately. Harrison Technologies' stock plummeted, and investors demanded answers. In the midst of this crisis, Olivia discovered she was pregnant, actually pregnant this time. The news should have been joyous, but the timing couldn't have been worse. With the company under scrutiny and the family fractured, Blake withdrew emotionally, spending endless hours with lawyers and the board. One night, Olivia found him in his workshop, staring at blueprints for a new mobility device. "Talk to me," she pleaded. "I've been thinking about what my father built," he said without looking up. "This company was supposed to help people. Now it's just another battleground for power and greed." "Then remind everyone what it stands for," Olivia said. "Not through press releases or damage control, but through actions." Her words sparked an idea that would either save Harrison Technologies or sink it completely. Blake called a press conference, but not at company headquarters or a luxury hotel. Instead, he invited the media to the site of the future Children's Rehabilitation Center, Olivia's original condition for their marriage. Standing on the construction site of the rehabilitation center, Blake faced a sea of cameras and skeptical reporters. The morning sun illuminated the skeletal frame of what would become a state-of-the-art facility for children with mobility challenges. With Olivia by his side, he moved forward, using his exoskeleton, each step deliberate and measured. Harrison Technologies was founded on a simple principle. "Innovation should improve lives," Blake began. "Today I'm announcing our most ambitious project yet, the complete restructuring of our corporate mission." The announcement was bold. Harrison Technologies would redirect 40% of its profits toward accessibility research and humanitarian projects. The company would open source several of its patents for mobility devices, making them available to researchers worldwide. And most surprisingly, Blake introduced a new oversight board comprised of disability rights advocates and ethics experts, who would have veto power over future projects. Wall Street analysts called it corporate suicide. Business networks questioned Blake's mental stability. But something unexpected happened. The public responded with overwhelming support. Social. Media exploded with stories from people whose lives had been changed by Harrison mobility devices. Within days, a movement formed around the hashtag #JuneStandWithHarrison. Ryan watched the press conference from Aaron Blackwood's office, his expression darkening with each announcement. "He's giving away everything our father built," he seethed. Aaron's response was calculated. "Or he's redefining the battlefield. Your brother has always had a flair for the dramatic, but this changes nothing about our plans." What neither man knew was that Victoria had been recording their conversations for weeks. As Blake's new initiative gained momentum, Victoria approached Olivia again. "I have proof of their conspiracy," she said, handing over another drive. "Including Ryan's involvement from the beginning." Olivia studied the former model carefully. "Why are you doing this? What do you get out of helping us?" Victoria's perfect facade cracked slightly. Redemption, maybe? Or just the satisfaction of watching Aaron lose? She hesitated before adding, "And I really am pregnant. 6 months along. The father isn't Aaron or Blake. He's a photographer. I met after the wedding disaster. He's a good man who knows nothing about this world of power games. I want my child to be proud of me someday." The evidence was damning. Recordings revealed Aaron and Ryan had been plotting to take control of Harrison Technologies for years. Victoria had initially been their unwitting accomplice, then a reluctant participant, and finally their potential scapegoat. The plan had been to fabricate a scandal large enough to force Blake out, with Ryan positioned as the reformer who would save the company. Blake and Olivia faced a difficult decision: expose Ryan publicly, potentially destroying his life and bringing further scandal to the Harrison name, or handle it privately at the risk of Aaron escaping consequences. "This isn't just about business anymore," Blake told his mother during a tense family meeting. "Ryan betrayed everything our family stands for." Eleanor's face showed the weariness of a woman who had weathered many storms. "He's still your brother, still my son." The decision was made to confront Ryan one last time before taking the evidence to the authorities. The meeting took place at the Harrison family estate in the Hamptons, a property that had been in the family for generations. Ryan arrived with his usual swagger, but it faltered when he saw not only Blake and Eleanor waiting for him, but also Victoria. "What is this? Some kind of intervention?" "We know everything, Ryan," Blake said quietly. "The conspiracy with Blackwood, the falsified records, using Victoria as a distraction." Ryan's denial lasted only until Blake played the first recording. Then his expression shifted from shock to anger to calculation. "You don't understand what it's like being the spare Harrison. Dad groomed you to lead from the beginning. I was just the backup plan." "That's not true," Eleanor interjected. "Your father loved you both equally." "Really? Then why did Blake get the innovative division while I got stuck with finance? Why was he the face of the company while I worked behind the scenes? Even you, Mom. You always looked at him with pride and me with concern." The family wounds ran, deeper than business rivalry. As the confrontation continued, Ryan's defenses gradually crumbled. When Blake revealed the full extent of Aaron's plan, which eventually would have sidelined Ryan as well, Ryan's face showed genuine shock. "He promised me equal control," Ryan said, his voice hollow. "Aaron Blackwood doesn't share power," Victoria stated flatly. "I learned that the hard way." The turning point came when Olivia, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "Your brother is offering you a chance most people never get, to repair what's broken before it's too late." She placed a hand protectively over her growing belly. "This child deserves to know their uncle, but that depends on the choices you make today." Ryan looked at Olivia's pregnant form, then at Blake. Something shifted in his expression. "I never wanted it to go this far. It started as just business leverage, but Aaron, he has a way of pushing boundaries." The family negotiated through the night. By morning they had a plan. Ryan would publicly confess to corporate espionage, but position himself as a whistleblower who had been manipulated by Blackwood. He would resign from Harrison Technologies, make full restitution, and cooperate with authorities. In exchange, Blake would support a reduced sentence and help Ryan establish a separate career path after serving his time. The plan unfolded over the following weeks. Aaron Blackwood was arrested on multiple charges of corporate fraud and blackmail. The evidence Victoria provided was crucial, earning her immunity despite her earlier involvement. Ryan's public confession shocked the business world, but his portrayal as a remorseful whistleblower garnered unexpected sympathy. For Blake and Olivia, the crisis brought new clarity. The rehabilitation center construction accelerated, becoming a symbol of the company's transformed mission. Eleanor took a more active role in the foundation, finding purpose in mentoring Olivia about the complexities of philanthropic work. And Victoria, to everyone's surprise, became a valuable ally, using her media connections to reshape the narrative around Harrison Technologies. As Olivia's pregnancy progressed, she and Blake began renovating part of the penthouse into a nursery. One evening, as they sorted through baby clothes, Blake received a call that changed everything again. The prototype failed, his chief engineer reported. The new exoskeleton collapsed during stress testing. We need to completely redesign the neural interface. The news was devastating. The next-generation exoskeleton had been meant to help thousands of people with spinal injuries regain mobility. More personally, Blake had hoped to walk unassisted by the time his child was born. Olivia found him later in his workshop, surrounded by broken components and discarded designs. His frustration was palpable, his vulnerability raw. "I wanted to be whole for this child," he admitted. "Not a father confined to a wheelchair." "You're already whole," Olivia told him, taking his hand and placing it on her belly where their child kicked vigorously. "This little one doesn't need you to stand. They need you to be present." The moment was interrupted by an unexpected visitor. Ryan, now awaiting trial but free on bail, stood awkwardly at the workshop door. He carried a large envelope. "I found these in Dad's old files," he said, handing the envelope to Blake. "I think he was saving them for you." Inside were detailed technical notebooks from their father's early research, including abandoned concepts for mobility devices that had been deemed too experimental at the time. As Blake flipped through the pages, his expression transformed from curiosity to excitement. "This neural interface design, it's completely different from what we've been trying. Dad was thinking in 3 dimensions while we've been working in 2. For the first time in months, the brothers worked together, through the night, poring over their father's notes and integrating the concepts with current technology. By dawn, they had the blueprint for a revolutionary approach to the exoskeleton's neural interface. The following week, as Olivia entered her 3rd trimester, Blake made another announcement. Harrison Technologies would partner with its biggest competitors to form a mobility consortium. The goal was to create universal standards for adaptive technology, ensuring compatibility across all devices and platforms. "Competition drives innovation," Blake told the press, "but cooperation creates revolutions." The consortium's first project would be based on the rediscovered designs, a neural interface system that could be adapted to various mobility devices, from wheelchairs to exoskeletons. Ryan, despite his pending legal issues, was invited to consult on the financial structure, working remotely under strict supervision. As autumn approached, Olivia's due date drew near. The family gathered at the Harrison estate for a quiet weekend retreat. Eleanor had transformed the old library into a welcoming nursery, filling it with books from both American classics and stories from Olivia's homeland. Victoria visited briefly, her own pregnancy now in its final month, bringing handmade blankets as a peace offering. The first snowfall of December blanketed Manhattan in white when Olivia went into labor. Blake rushed her to the hospital, his wheelchair moving with unprecedented speed through the emergency entrance. Within hours, their daughter, Sophia Eleanor Harrison, was born, healthy, vocal, and with a grip so strong the nurses commented on it. As Blake held his daughter for the first time, the months of corporate battles, family betrayals, and technological setbacks seemed distant. "She has your determination," he whispered to Olivia, "and hopefully your patience." Their newfound peace was interrupted when Ryan appeared at the hospital room door the following day, his expression grave. Aaron Blackwood was released on bail this morning. His legal team found a technicality. The news cast a shadow over what should have been a purely joyful time. Aaron had made veiled threats against the Harrison family during his arrest, vowing that the truth would destroy them all. Now he was free, at least temporarily. Security at the penthouse has been doubled, Ryan continued, and I've arranged protection for Mom at the estate. Blake nodded, his arm protectively around Olivia, who cradled their sleeping daughter. Thank you. How are you holding up with the trial preparations? Ryan's own legal proceedings were scheduled to begin after the new year. My lawyer thinks the cooperation agreement will hold 3 to 5 years, most likely. He hesitated before adding, I've been thinking about what to do afterward. I want to work with veterans, people who need mobility solutions but can't afford them. Blake studied his brother, seeing genuine change in his eyes. We'll talk more about that when you're ready. The family established a new routine around baby Sophia. Blake worked from home most days, dividing his time between the Mobility Consortium and fatherhood. Olivia balanced motherhood with directing the Foundation's international programs. Eleanor practically moved into the guest suite, doting on her granddaughter and offering wisdom from her own parenting experience. Victoria gave birth to a son 3 weeks after Sophia's arrival. To everyone's surprise, she asked Olivia to be the godmother. You're the only honest person in my world, she explained. My son deserves at least one adult in his life who isn't playing games. As winter deepened, Aaron Blackwood made his next move. Rather than attacking directly, he launched a rival foundation focused on mobility issues, essentially copying the Harrison mission, but with greater publicity and celebrity endorsements. He positioned himself as the true champion of accessibility, implying that Blake's efforts were merely reputation management after corporate misconduct. He's trying to erase everything we've built, Blake fumed after seeing Aaron's nationally televised interview, making it look like our mission was his idea all along. Olivia watched the situation with a clear-eyed perspective honed by her refugee experience. This isn't about mobility technology anymore. It's about the story people believe. And right now he's controlling the narrative. The solution came from an unexpected source. Mrs. Sullivan, the elderly housekeeper who had encouraged Olivia to stay during their first crisis, revealed she had worked for the Harrison family for over 40 years, including during the early days when Blake and Ryan's father was developing his first innovations. Your father wasn't just brilliant, he was kind, she told Blake one evening as they watched Sophia sleeping in her bassinet. He kept detailed records of every person who tested his early devices, not just the technical data, their stories, their dreams, what the technology meant for their lives. These forgotten archives became the foundation for a documentary series called Mobility Stories, featuring the real people whose lives had been transformed by Harrison technology over 4 decades. The series, produced with Victoria's Media Connections, presented an authentic counter-narrative to Aaron's slick PR campaign. The first episode featured an elderly man who had tested the original Harrison mobility chair in the 1980s. Before that chair, I couldn't leave my house, he recalled, emotion making his voice tremble. Now I've seen the Grand Canyon, held my grandchildren, lived a full life. That's not business, that's humanity. As the series gained popularity, public opinion began to shift. Technology journals ran features comparing Aaron's flashy promises with Harrison's decades of actual results. Disability advocates spoke out about the difference between publicity stunts and meaningful innovation. Aaron's response was desperate. He announced an accelerated timeline for his own exoskeleton technology, promising capabilities that engineering experts deemed impossible with current technology. When questioned about these claims, he doubled down, scheduling a public demonstration for Valentine's Day. The morning of the demonstration, Ryan received an encrypted message from one of Aaron's engineers, a former colleague concerned about safety risks. The neural interface is unstable. He's ignoring all the test failures. Ryan immediately contacted Blake. We need to stop this. Someone could get seriously hurt. Blake faced an ethical dilemma, warning Aaron might save him from public humiliation, or even injury. but it would also potentially save his dangerous technology from failing publicly. After consulting with Olivia, he made his decision. Blake arrived at Aaron's demonstration venue an hour before the event. Security tried to block him, but the press immediately swarmed, sensing drama between the tech rivals. Blake requested a private conversation, which Aaron reluctantly granted. "Your neural interface is flawed," Blake stated directly once they were alone. "The feedback loop creates exponential signal amplification. Your test subject could suffer severe neural damage." Aaron's face showed momentary shock before hardening into suspicion. "This is a pathetic attempt to undermine me. My technology is revolutionary." "I'm not here as a competitor," Blake insisted. "I'm here as someone who spent years working with neural interfaces. The math doesn't lie, Aaron." For a moment, uncertainty flickered across Aaron's face. Then his arrogance reasserted itself. "You're just afraid I'll succeed where you failed. Harrison Technologies is yesterday's news. Blackwood is the future." Blake made one final attempt. "At least run the diagnostic protocol I brought. 5 minutes could prevent disaster." Aaron refused, ordering security to escort Blake out. The demonstration proceeded as planned, with Aaron introducing a young paraplegic athlete as his test subject. The initial movements of the exoskeleton looked promising, drawing applause from the audience. Then the neural interface began to malfunction exactly as Blake had warned. The athlete cried out in pain as the exoskeleton movements became erratic. Medical personnel rushed the stage. Aaron frantically tried to shut down the system, but the emergency protocols failed. Finally, a technician physically cut power to the entire system. The athlete wasn't permanently injured, but the incident effectively ended Aaron's credibility. Investigations revealed he had falsified test results and ignored safety warnings. His financial backers withdrew, his foundation collapsed, and new criminal charges were added to his pending case. In the aftermath, Blake invited the athlete to participate in Harrison's legitimate exoskeleton trials. "We're at least 2 years from public implementation," he explained honestly. "But we won't move forward until we're certain it's safe." As spring arrived, the Harrison Technologies Rehabilitation Center opened its doors. The first patients were children from diverse backgrounds, including refugees like Olivia had once been. The center combined cutting-edge mobility technology with comprehensive support services, education, psychological counseling, family resources, and career development. On the center's opening day, Blake unveiled the prototype of the new exoskeleton, developed from his father's recovered designs. Using it, he was able to stand and take several steps entirely unassisted, holding Sophia in his arms as he walked toward Olivia. Ryan attended the opening via video call from prison, where he had begun serving a reduced 3-year sentence. Despite his circumstances, he was actively involved in developing a veterans program that would launch upon his release. Eleanor, watching her sons reconcile their differences and build something meaningful from their father's legacy, finally began to heal from decades of family tension. "Your father would be proud," she told Blake, "not just of what you've built, but of who you've become." That evening, at home in their penthouse, Blake and Olivia stood on the terrace where they had first connected through music. Sophia slept peacefully in her carrier while they watched the sunset paint the Manhattan skyline in gold. "I never imagined this life," Olivia admitted. "When I came to this country, I was just trying to survive." Blake took her hand. "And I was existing, not living. You taught me the difference." From the terrace sound system, the traditional melody Olivia had played on that first night began to play. Blake had recorded it and incorporated it into a new composition, traditional rhythms interwoven with contemporary piano. "I was thinking," Blake said as they listened to their musical story unfold, "about expanding the rehabilitation centers, not just in America but worldwide, starting with your hometown." Olivia's eyes widened. "That would take years." "We have time," Blake replied, looking at their sleeping daughter. "And we have purpose." As the music reached its crescendo, Blake activated his exoskeleton and held out his hand. "May I have this dance?" They moved together under the stars, their steps sometimes uncertain but their direction clear. The melody of their unlikely love story continued to play, no longer just two separate instruments, but a harmony, complex, challenging and beautiful in its authenticity. In the nursery below, baby Sophia stirred slightly in her sleep, reaching out a tiny hand as if already preparing to grasp the future her parents were building, a future where barriers were meant to be overcome, differences celebrated, and love recognized in its many imperfect, powerful forms. The end. Dear listeners, we hope that Blake and Olivia's journey from an abandoned altar to true partnership has touched your hearts. For more emotional stories that explore redemption, family healing, and unexpected love, we've created a special playlist just for you. Find it by clicking on the link to your left. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up. Every day we bring unique narratives that explore life's complexities and the triumph of the human spirit. Join our community of storytelling enthusiasts. We can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments section below.